Mentira fue la tarde tu pasado. Mentira fue la tarde tu pasado.
What is going on, everybody? This is the In the Money DFS podcast. Dan, joined by my co-host Dan. My name is Justin. Dan, what's going on, man?
It is showtime, man, and I'm not just talking about the Lakers in the playoffs at 7 o'clock. It is opening night for the National Football League. We're already geared up for our single slate, Texans versus Chiefs, and best time of the year, buddy. It felt like Christmas when I woke up this morning. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it felt like I was in a dream. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't even feel real. I need someone to pinch me, Dan. I need someone to just go over here, pinch me like, hey, NFL season's here. It's weird with no preseason, COVID offseason. Just kind of flew by. I feel like I was just doing some Dynasty Starters with you back in March, and now we're here. Kickoff is an hour and 10 minutes away. I can't wait. I mean, I'm excited. So we're going to get people to plays for week 1 DFS, but my Twitter is at Justin_FFB. Your Twitter at FFCoachDan. You can follow the podcast Twitter at InTheMoneyDFS_ on Twitter. Stay up to date when we go live, when our episodes drop, what we're doing, and who we're maybe switching on late. But this is going to drop Friday morning. But people tuning into the live stream, we got a Thursday night game every week. We're going to be here around 7 o'clock Eastern time. And Dan, I think we should get into this Thursday night slate. What do you guys say about today's quick little slate, little tips for the live stream listeners?
Man, we're excited here, and this is our warm-up. Like you gave our Twitter handles. Follow us on Twitter this week because we'll be updating right up to game time as we get ready for the full slate. But for those that listen to us live, we want to make sure we hit on the Thursday night game before kickoff. So when you listen to the pod afterwards, you'll get the rest. But tonight it is Chiefs and the Texans. We've been talking about it in the previous episodes a little bit, Justin, with that over-under of 53.5. It did open at 55, but that's one of, I think it's the highest scoring game
on the slate.
Yes, so sir. You want some action there, okay? Keep this Thursday to Monday night slate in mind if you haven't played it yet. This is a nice guaranteed points to get in. And when we say guaranteed points, Justin, just something for our listeners too that are here live, and I'll try to bring this up again on the recorded one for those that listen after. The Tampa Bay New Orleans game, their home stadium in New Orleans is not official for this weekend. They're working with the city to get approval to play the game there. So there is a chance, as crazy as it sounds, is that game doesn't happen. Now, I hope there's a backup plan. I assume there is. I'm thinking they're going to get the deal done, but be very careful. Watch that in your lineups. So tonight's guaranteed slate here, man, I lean heavy with Kansas City. And I think whatever direction you go tonight, if you're entering the big GPPs, you want to be contrarian. But you got to come up with a narrative. What do you think is going to happen tonight? My take, Justin, is Mahomes is going to expose that leaky Texans secondary. So I can see him having a better game than Watson. I like Mahomes in the Thursday to Monday because he's cheaper than Lamar, who I love. But he's at a lower price for an elite quarterback. I'm going with my boy McCole Hardman, who showed up to the stadium tonight with his robe on, his bunny slippers, his big teddy stuffed animal, as he's ready to put the Texans to sleep. I've seen some people say they like Watkins more than Hardman as a Kansas City target, but I'm just going to my narrative is I think Hardman's taking the next step. I am biased to our listeners because I played basketball with him this offseason, but what a nice play in the captain spot there. Okay. If you're playing DraftKings, you're probably going to win that tonight by taking a receiver or a running back that goes off in that captain spot. Now, this is the one slate where you could go with the quarterback because you got running quarterbacks. I mean, Mahomes and Watson could really do some damage. That will limit your salary cap, but that's going to be your play tonight. Do the quarterbacks go off? If you do, I think you put one of them in the captain spot. If you know that receiver that's going to go off and you want to save some money, for me tonight, I've got some Hardman in the captain spots. I did take a couple quarterback lineups. And then if I'm playing the other way, Will Fuller, I think, has a chance to go ham. I think he has a chance to show he is the guy in Houston and be an awesome captain. We all know what happens when Fuller goes off. So what I didn't want to do, Justin, is have any regrets and not have Fuller in the lineup in the captain spot tonight, and he goes off because we know what he's capable of. And then I do have some contrarian spots with Cobb, and I think you have another Texan receiver that you like, and I'll let you mention that. But that's my early take right now, man. I love Hardman and Fuller as my guys. I like them all offseason in Dynasty and redraft, so I'm going to stick with them in DFS tonight and kind of see how it plays out. But, if you're a guy that's not, or a gal that's not, big on Hardman, you don't think it's his time yet, you want to be a little more contrarian than a Fuller, then there's some other receivers you could play on, or, bank on those money quarterbacks. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I agree 100%. So I think with the captain spot, what I like to try to do is find a cheaper option because you have to be contrarian to win one of these things. So your captain spot has to go off. And a lot of people are going to have Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. You got to know that going into it, as they should. It's not a bad selection at all. They're going to get you points. But what if a guy like Kenny Stills today emerges and has a big game? Brandon Cooks dealing with a quad injury this whole entire week. And he just got cleared to play today, but he's not going to be 100%. So one of the two between Stills and Cobb is going to have to go off. I am a little bit more biased because my teams, my rosters, my shares towards Cobb, but Stills could have a week too. I think it's going to be a Cobb night though. So I like having Cobb at my captain spot at 6,300. And then you can just pay up for both quarterbacks, get Travis Kelce in there and get all the other studs in there to possibly win it all. And, it's a good chance, but Hardman's a nice sneaky play. Watkins and him are close for me. Hardman with Tyreek Hill active is a little bit of a different player, but year two, step forward, I could definitely see that for Hardman, but I do like the Cobb shout out, and the Stills is a nice little sneaky play as well.
Yeah, and I'm not forgetting about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like him a little bit more in FanDuel when I like to jam in the running backs, where it's half-point PPR there. I could see him getting some touchdowns. Maybe it's a running back game tonight, so I'm definitely not forgetting about him. I have a little bit of him in the lineups, but I'm with you, Justin. Those contrarian plays, Cobb, Stills, Hardman, I think they're guys to look at.
I also, before we go on to the main slate, I don't hate an Edwards-Helaire captain spot because you saw what happened 2 years ago on the Thursday Night Football game, season opener, when Kareem Hunt with Alex Smith against the Patriots, man. Kareem Hunt went bonkers, 4 touchdowns that game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Edwards-Helaire have at least 2+ touchdowns this game and possibly over 100 receiving yards and be on the brink of 100 rushing yards because defense is not going to know what to do with him right away. They know what to do with Tyreek Hill, at least try to do with Tyreek Hill and basically blanket him, but it's not going to. That offense is hard to stop. So Chiefs offense, like you said, in on the Chiefs. But I really want to get into the main slate. So if you're in a live stream, we do live stream every Thursday, I said. So YouTube, In the Money DFS. It's in the Twitter bio. You can find it on our link tree where we have all the spots where you can find and listen to our podcast or watch us live on Thursday nights before kickoff. But main slate, quarterbacks, man. This is what I'm waiting for this, man. Last week I said, hey, this episode, we're just giving like some of the tips and tricks and then sneak peek here or there into week one. But this is it. Week one is here, Dan. It doesn't feel real to me. It's like starting to hit me right now. Right this second, I'm like, oh, it's happening. Week one. So, Dan, who is one of your favorite quarterback plays this week?
Man, I started the DFS studying probably a month ago when DraftKings were the first ones to release their prices. And I've been high all season, and this is going to be chalky, and it is chalky, but I'm still not shying away from it as one of my favorite plays in Lamar Jackson. We mentioned last week in the show we were going to talk about ownership percentage there. Right now, Lamar's looking at the highest owned guy on the slate at around 15%. Now, just because a guy's highly owned does not mean you can't have him in your lineups. All right, look at correlation, look at those Vegas over-unders like we've been talking about. I have this gut feeling that the Ravens are going to eat this week. I just think they're a dynamic team. I think Cleveland will be competitive and keep the scoring going. You're right. Feed me more. So I'm loving Lamar despite the ownership percentage. For each position, I just wanted to touch on ownership possession. For quarterbacks that we're talking about now, Lamar and Russ Wilson are the high-owned guys, just so our listeners know right now. Falling a little bit behind is Matty Ice, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brady, and then it's pretty low ownership. And to win the Millie Maker, which I may do this weekend, I told you I'm going to do it this year.
Happening.
Normally you do go with a less-priced quarterback. So I'm going to pay up to Lamar in a lot of my lineups, Justin. But I do have, as you know, I'm addicted right now, especially week one. I do this every year. It's like Christmas. I'm in 25 contests with 23 lineups, 57 entries, and I do have other shares. I have some Derek Carr stacks, looking at the Raiders-Carolina game, Bridgewater, playing both sides of that. Josh Allen, if I'm looking for a running quarterback, I think Buffalo's in a prime position.
The human highlight reel himself,
well.
Josh Allen, baby.
liking some Josh Allen Diggs connection this week.
Oh.
Do love Russ in Atlanta. That game's got an over under of 49. I think that's going to be a highly owned stack. So that's another one I'm giving some attention to. So they're probably my best plays as far as quarterbacks. And I've been high trading for Cam Newton in recent weeks. I'm a little leery that week one's going to be the week for him to go off. But I'm going to take some shares and see if Cam could get going with his legs.
Yeah, man. So you also mentioned the ownership percentages. I believe in DFS quarterback, most of the ones that had the winning lineups are going to have a guy who's above 50% owned. Like you can have an occasional one that has a low ownership, but that's not the spot where I want to be looking for my contrarian play all the time. I'm okay with paying up for quarterback. Last year, there was a rule on the Father Son Fantasy Football podcast where we do our start sits. We usually do our DraftKings plays, and there's a rule. It's like if McCaffrey or Lamar is like cheap enough, you're just going to play him no matter what because they give you that difference every week. So I do like Lamar Jackson in cash, but that's not the guy, or even some GPP, depending on if you do a stack with him. But Josh Allen, you mentioned the human highlight reel himself. That's my guy this week. And I'm not a big Josh Allen fan, so the Bauer Club, Mr. John Bauer, he knows I'm not a Josh Allen guy. He's a big Josh Allen guy. I'm not a big Josh Allen guy. But this week, 6,500 on DraftKings. He's the only quarterback outside of Lamar Jackson last year to rush over 100 yards in a game. And it's going against the Jets in week one. The Jets don't have Jamal Adams anymore. They don't. They are the worst secondary in the NFL. And last season, week one, Lamar Jackson versus Miami Dolphins. You all know how that went. It was like 53 points. He sat him in the fourth quarter. It was a complete blowout. Lamar Jackson went off. And then Vegas had that wrong. Vegas had a very low total. Well, guess what? This is the same situation this year. It's Josh Allen against the New York Jets. Very low total, but they're 6.5 point favorites against the Jets. And he's got Diggs now, and he got John Brown. Both these guys are really, really successful in reception perception by Matt Harmon. I like your idea of stacking it with Diggs or John Brown. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable with the stack with those guys yet because it's Rocket Arm himself, but he can put up monster fantasy points, and I do like Josh Allen at 6,500. You also mentioned Teddy Bridgewater. That's my guy. I love Teddy Bridgewater this year. And this week, 5,900 on DraftKings, a 47.5 over under, one of the highest ones of the week. And they're also 3-point underdogs with a rookie defense. So they're going to be trailing in this game most likely, throwing the ball a lot, high pass volume. They had the second highest passing attempts last year in the league. They're going to be forced to throw. So I do like Teddy Bridgewater. And we'll talk about his stack later with another one of my guys. Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy I also love in cash this week. 5,800. He's going to be high owned, but in cash, it's okay to have a high owned guy like that. Last season, Jimmy Garoppolo had 3 games with 4 touchdowns last year. One of them was in that New Orleans Saints shootout he had down the stretch where George Kittle won that game. The other 2 were against Arizona. And he's got Arizona week 1. That's a Swiss cheese defense still. Even though Isaiah Simmons is there, it's a Swiss cheese defense. And he had over 300 yards in each game, giving you that 3-point DraftKings bonus. So I do like him. The game implied total is also 48 points, so that's a high total. They're also 7-point favorites, which means they're going to be scoring points as well. So Jimmy Garoppolo in a great spot this week, and it's a little chalky. I'd say it's chalky, but I'm okay with it. And then you mentioned Cam Newton. I love me some Cameron Newton. Konami code over under is 42, but no one's seen this offense. They don't really know how to project it. He rushes the ball and looks good. He's a nice little GPP play. That's my GPP play. But you got all these rushing quarterbacks off the slate. Mahomes is on tonight's game. Watson's on tonight's game. Your boy Dak Prescott's in the Sunday night game. All these Konami code quarterbacks are not really on the slate other than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. So Cameron Newton can also give you that edge. But my GPP, my sneaky play of the week, Dan, is Dwayne Haskins at $5,000. I do like him. The game implied total is 42.5. But this game is one of the most unpredictable games yet. They could be forced to throw. They're 6-point underdogs. And Antonio Gibson, he's the lead. Your guy, Antonio Gibson. Our guy, I guess I should say Antonio Gibson. My guy, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, Terror Bear, whatever you want to call this guy. He's ready to feast too, man. And that's going to be one of my favorite stacks this week is Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin. But I mentioned the Teddy Bridgewater game. I like the Teddy Bridgewater game. I'm stacking it with DJ Moore. That's my guy, man. So wide receivers, Dan, we'll kick it off with that. DJ Moore, $6,600, a little more expensive than what you think, but volume. I mentioned the close spread, which means it's going to be a close game, 3-point spread, 47.5 point over under. Him and CMC are going to get the funnel of the targets. So the 100-yard bonus is a guarantee this week. DJ Moore will have 100-plus receiving yards in this game, and the biggest problem with him last year was his touchdowns. Well, guess what? There's odds that he's going to get a touchdown in this game. He's going to start off the season strong, 100-plus yards, guarantee. Stack it with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm okay doing it in cash. I also like it as a tournament play.
I love it, man. I think you're on with a lot of those. Haskins is a deep dive, but they're going to have to throw a lot. They're going to have to find ways to produce some points. If Haskins just take that nice jump, he's so cheap right now in DraftKings, it makes sense. One thing we mentioned we were going to talk about is matchups a little bit. And a lot of those plays that you like, you look at Josh Allen, and I agree with that. Like I said, Lamar for me it was kind of, I'm staying with my original lineup that, how you make a lineup in the beginning of this and then you end up changing, and I don't want to have any regrets. And so I'm sticking with that early pick with Lamar because I love that stack with Hollywood Brown, even though Hollywood's very highly owned. That concerns me a little bit. And then Andrews. And I think I could play that back with Odell Beckham, your boy. But
whoa, we don't talk about him right now.
If you want to pay it, right? If you want to pay down from Lamar at 8,100 and go to Josh Allen at 6,500, I love it. And I love it even more because of matchups. Stephon Diggs and John Brown versus Pierre Desir and Blesson Austin with
those guys.
Yeah, those guys that nobody knows with, Jamal Adams gone. And Adams was the heart and soul of the defense. If you watched Jets games last year, that's a big blow for them. So that's a stack that makes a lot of sense. Do you play it back with someone on the Jets? Our boy Mitch from Dynasty Theory, he loves Crowder. Maybe there's a lot of targets there that could help that. So I love that. And then your boy DJ Moore, him and Teddy Bridgewater, maybe Robbie Anderson, and you could play that back too. There's a good narrative there with the Raiders and Ruggs. Who else are they going to throw to other than Waller? You got a couple explosive guys in Las Vegas that are going to be intriguing plays. So there are two stacks that make sense from the Vegas over-under. The matchups versus the secondaries are nice, and the price is right. So I think there are two stacks that can make a lot of sense, and they're going to be a little bit contrarian. Again, we said everybody's going on Lamar and Russ, so you find the right combo with Josh Allen or Teddy Bridgewater and those stacks that you mentioned. I think you have something there, Justin.
That's the cash in right there, man. I love Teddy Bridgewater this year, but I mentioned Terry McLaurin before, and I can't skip over this wide receiver section without saying Terry McLaurin being the best play for cash games this week. I think it's 5,600. He allows you to pay up in other spots as well. He's very cheap, but he's going to have one thing, and that's volume, as well as some big playability. Dwayne Haskins, people basically crapped on this guy last year for saying he sucked, but he wasn't that bad. He got better as the year went on, as he got more games under his belt. This year, he looks a little better in camp. Reports are good out of camp. And the only difference between him and Case Keenum with Terry McLaurin was the touchdown rate. And that's the most unsticky thing in football, we noticed. So I'm expecting some positive mean reversion there. And I really like Terry McLaurin to bounce back. And you're throwing a challenge flag. No, Dan, not the challenge flag. Why are you throwing me a challenge flag on Terry McLaurin?
I got to break the Dynasty Theory challenge flag out to In the Money tonight for the first time on you, Justin. And say I do like Terry McLaurin a lot. I especially like him a lot in cash for his price because he's never going to be that small amount of money, probably all season. But maybe next week he will. He's going up against Darius Slay. Which Darius Slay is going to show up for the Eagles? Could Slay be in great shape and shadow him the whole game and, maybe not stop McLaurin, Justin, but contain him? So in GPPs, other than that, like one Haskins stack that I will have, and I will have it with Steve Sims because I think that's the Redskins receiver you want this week. I'm just a little hesitant on McLaurin. Love him for cash, and you're the cash guy of this show. The GPP guy over here says just proceed with caution with McLaurin because he's 16% owned. When you look at the wide receiver shares of who's owned, Deshaun Jackson's at a phenomenal around 28% there. Then you got McLaurin, then my boy Hollywood Brown. So our takes there, McLaurin and Brown, our favorite takes this week are very heavily owned. The difference is I think Hollywood Brown's going to eat, and I think McLaurin's only going to have a little snack. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, more of a cash game. Michael Thomas also high owned. Another cash game consideration. You talk about Michael Thomas? You taking Michael Thomas this week?
I like him. I will have a little Tampa Bay, New Orleans action. We mentioned this in the pre-show there for those that listen live. Just really keep an eye on that Tampa Bay, New Orleans game. New Orleans has not secured the stadium for that game yet. That was a report that just came out today. I can't imagine them not sealing a deal, but sometimes politics do come into play. And if there is an issue where that game gets postponed, you don't want to have Michael Thomas and the Saints and Bucks in your lineup and they don't play on you. So please watch that up to we see that contract signed and they have a stadium. But otherwise, I do like Michael Thomas. I like Godwin. Mike Evans is nursing a hamstring this week. So I think Godwin's going to eat. Like DK Metcalf.
Ooh.
We look at these higher owned guys, and Metcalf could go off in that game. So could Calvin Ridley. I think there's a good stack there with Atlanta and Seattle. Just picking the narrative, which way you want to go, the Matty Ice stack or the Russ Wilson heavily owned stack. Might be some advantage there in playing back Matty Ice.
Yeah, DK Metcalf, my favorite GPP play this week. That's going to most likely be high on, but 5,800 on DraftKings. He's the lowest out of the four receivers, I guess you can mention Julio Jones as well. Calvin Ridley, 6,100. Tyler Lockett, also a little more expensive. He's way too cheap. If I'm playing Metcalf, I'm playing Ridley as well. I got to play both of them because it's going to be a shootout. 49 over under and a small spread of 1.5 points. That means it's going to be a close game. You're looking at a shootout city. Stack it up, baby. Atlanta's a weak defense. DK Metcalf has touchdown upside all day and a very concentrated passing offense. I'm all in on DK Metcalf. I don't know if you know what Super Smash Bros. Is with Dan. It's a nice little Wii game, and my one roommate is really, really good at it, and he always played DK, and DK always wins. Donkey Kong does not lose, so DK Metcalf is it's the GPP play. I love it. And for my other cash game play, I'm going to give to the people is Allen Bernard Robinson II. You got to put some respect on this guy's name. Don't shake your head at me, Dan. I don't care. You can not have enough challenge flags for me. This is the correct answer over here. The people are already saying it. Allen Robinson, no respect. Detroit was last in adjusted fantasy points to wide receivers last year, and now they have no Darius Slay, who we mentioned. They got a rookie cornerback, Jeff Okudah. I ain't worried. Allen Robinson, high target floor. If Trubisky won the job over Foles, it's got to mean something. And last year, wide receiver 8 overall with the Mitch Trubisky himself. I'm confident in Allen Robinson having a very high floor game. He's going to have at least 10 targets minimum. And this guy could get you a touchdown or two.
I think John Bauer slipped you a few dollars to mention Allen Robinson because him and I were arguing about Robinson in the last Dynasty
I did see that. I'm a big Allen Robinson guy, Dan.
We've had some heavy debates. I love A-Rob. I do. I'm just anti-Bears this year. I'm anti-Jaguars this year. And there's going to be time to take them where they fit into the lineups there. I guess I'll go to cash play. I could see A-Rob as being a safe cash play. He's definitely going to get volume. They're going to pump him the ball. I just don't see him breaking out because I think Detroit's the better team, and the Bears are going to struggle a little bit. But I definitely see where you're going with it there. What about your boy Beckham, man? You've been a Beckham.
He's not on my list. He's not on my list. I do think he'll have a good. I think he'll have a good week one. But do you have any other tidbits about Odell Beckham? It's got a high over under. So if you're gonna, I'm honestly not staying away from the game. But I know Marquise Hollywood Brown, who's also become my boy as of late too. So we can call him our boy as well, Dan. The Y is silent in your boy, but it's tough for me to do it with the high ownership percentage, like you said. So in cash games, I'm okay with it because you can have a Lamar stack with him and Andrews and have a super high ceiling in cash games. And if that hits, you're basically guaranteed money, which I also like doing one of those, like a tiny bit, quote unquote, riskier lineups to get that cash.
Yeah, what I like about Beckham and Marquise Brown, and I think Marquise Brown, I think he's everybody's boy now. I just like to take a little pride that he was my boy first for anyone out there listening there. Unless they liked him last year, then I'll give you a little bit more credit. But I've been boasting him since the beginning of the season. But Marquise Brown at 5,100. Odell Beckham, who's healthy for the first time. Cleveland's finally got good coaching. I think he's going to produce, and he's 5,900. Landry's, hasn't been the healthiest this offseason here. I just think it's going to be the Beckham show at 5,900. And if you're paying up for Lamar, you need to find value somewhere. So what value than Beckham and Marquise Brown at those prices? And if you're not paying up for Lamar and you're paying up elsewhere, maybe you're paying up for McCaffrey. Maybe you're trying to go team jam them in with 3 running backs. For their prices and not being, dart throw wide receivers, I think there's a lot of return value there. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on some slot guys this week too, Justin. Steven Sims at 4,700. My boy Trent Taylor, deep sleeper there at 3,900 in San Francisco. Everyone's Kittle and Garoppolo stacks. Well, someone else is going to get the ball. Ayuk's not that healthy yet. Taylor. He's a rookie.
It's not Taylor.
Don't tell me that Pettis because he's got a couple good offseasons.
It's Kendrick Bourne, baby. I was talking about later in the show. My triple stack, baby. Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle, Kendrick Bourne, stack it up, baby. I mean, we could have a little side bet who has more fantasy points this week, Trent Taylor or Kendrick Bourne. That's a nice little one right there.
I would take that action, man. Bring the cash register there because Kendrick Bourne is that possession receiver that's going to get you 3 catches for
Red
34 yards.
Red zone and 2 touchdowns.
He has been a red zone guy, But Trent Taylor wasn't around when he was a red zone guy. And I think George Kittle is going to have some positive regression in the touchdown category this year. And I can see Trent Taylor being like that Jamison Crowder, and he's going to get 6-7 targets, get peppered with the targets, get about to 80 yards and a touchdown. So if I could get 20 points out of Trent Taylor for 3,900, that's a winning day. So he'll be there in the Niners stack.
He will. And then also DJ Chark. I like McLaurin, so naturally I have to like my boy DJ Chark. 6,300. Same thing. Tons of volume. Negative game script. Little competition for targets. Minshew. They're actually one of the. I think it's the biggest spread on the slate this whole week. It's 8.5 points for the Colts to be winning, and the Colts are probably gonna come out guns blazing. Minshew mania gonna have to come from behind. So I do like DJ Chark, but I have a GPP play, Dan, and this one it's only gonna win you money if it hits, and.
Tell them to bring me my money.
I'm here for it. Traquan Smith at $4,000. 47.5 over under. Again, you got to make sure the game's going to happen because the game's got to happen for this guy to actually hit. If it doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. But he could get you a long touchdown, which could just propel your lineup over all these other people who went mainstream options like Marquise Brown, Deshaun Jackson. But I do like Marquise Brown, so I can't really crap on that one too much. But Emmanuel Sanders, 32 years old. And people forget, 2 years ago, as a rookie, Traquan Smith had 2 top 10 wide receiver performances. And he's got the capability to have a boom, boom week. And why not week 1 against Tampa Bay? It's a pass funnel defense. They have a really, really good front seven. A little better in cornerback situation here, but it's hard to cover both Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. And even if Emmanuel Sanders does play, they can do a nice little 11 personnel. Traquan Smith in the slot. He's going for that deep touchdown, and Drew Brees still has some arm strength left. So I do like Traquan Smith as my 1% lineup kind of thing.
You've got me tweaking lineups already, and it's not even an hour before kickoff here or there because Drew Brees did hype Traquan Smith up this offseason, saying he's taking that jump. Ted Ginn is out of there. He's going to be the deep guy. He could be the all-everything guy because other than Michael Thomas, there's definitely opportunity there in New Orleans. And at 4,000, that's a very nice value. And if you have that New Orleans Tampa stacks, so that's good. I like that one, Just.
Yeah, it's funny. We used to just text about this on Sunday morning, and now we're here Thursday night, 7:00 Eastern, talking about our DFS plays. You mentioned the high shootout games with you had the Panthers versus the Raiders, a high shootout game. You mentioned the Browns game you're all in on. You said the Browns game, that's going to be a high point. You said the Ravens, you're on the Ravens. Well, Josh Jacobs is maybe a highest on running back on the slate other than McCaffrey. I mean, you have the ownership percentages there for me, but I don't care. Josh Jacobs, you're shaking your head already, Dan. Josh Jacobs?
No, I love Josh Jacobs, but where I'm surprised is he's not that highly owned, Justin. He's at about 7% right now owned. The big takes this week that everybody's on is McCaffrey because he's still in like automatic mode, even though he's $10,000 salary.
Hey, under 11,000, that's McCaffrey season. That's what that means.
31% owned, take the points. Antonio Gibson, 26%. So that hidden value at $4,000 is not so hidden as everyone's on the Gibson train. And, I think for cash, he's still going to get you definitely enough touches. And I could see him taking a screen pass to the house. I'm still liking him in GPP, but probably more in cash. But I do have Gibson in lineups for the savings. But Kamara, Miles Sanders, your boy, and Eckler as of now are the high-owned guys. I love Eckler. I did love Miles Sanders. I know Al Seinfeld's still kind of staying on Miles Sanders, but he was limited again today at practice, and I'm just not feeling warm and fuzzy about that. But tell me more about Josh Jacobs because I love him there.
I didn't know he was going to be that low ownership, but
as of now, that could change between now and game day.
Hooray. Yeah, they listen to our podcast. They're going to know, to take Josh Jacobs. 6,800. Well, they're 3-point favorites. And teams that are 3 to 6 point favorites, they have a 33% hit rate of giving you 20-plus PPR points. And I love that. They moved Lynn Bowden. That was a big concern for his pass catching. I'm not even going to assume that Josh Jacobs gets 3 targets this game, but he could surprise. I'm saying the groundwork he's going to do against this defense. I mentioned the Carolinas defense. It's all rookies. It's literally trash. It's them or the Jets have the worst defense in the NFL right now, and he's going to eat it. 47.5 game total. I like the over-under. And also, the Las Vegas Raiders have a top 6 offensive line. I love seeing that. No real pass rush. Teddy Bridgewater, he's going to put up points. But they got to put up points, and he's going to keep it close. They're going to want to run the ball out because John Gruden likes to run the ball. They got Matt Rule, Joe Brady. I'm hyped for Josh Jacobs this weekend. I wouldn't surprise me to see a 30-plus point performance from him on DraftKings. I do like doing running back in the flex, so 6,800. That's automatic for me.
Yeah, I think he's going to eat you. I mean, you hit on all the points, Justin. The stars are aligned for him there. I mean, he's the veteran presence on that Raiders team. They've got a lot of young guys in the passing game that's going to take a little time to develop. So I see in week one, they're going to try to get Ruggs involved, and I know they're going to get the ball in his hands. But I think it's going to be the Waller and Jacobs show. And Jacobs at 6,800. I don't believe he's coming off the field until he needs a breather. I see him like kind of Leonard Fournette was last season. I mean, we were kind of all a little bit nervous.
He's better than Leonard.
Oh, he is better. He is more talented. but I'm talking about that volume where you watch those Jaguars games last year. They did not feel confident putting anybody in for him, and that's just poor depth chart that they had. But other than the Raiders, there's only Jalen Richard, and he'll get some carries, but he's a guy that they don't utilize a lot or as much as you think they would in the passing game. He'll get some, but I think Jacobs is still going to be heavily involved in the passing game, run behind that great O-line, and has just a dream matchup versus Carolina. And he's at the right price. I mean, when you're looking to get anybody not named McCaffrey or Kamara, I think you're looking at the Jacobs. I love Eckler. Miles Sanders, what are you feeling there? That's your boy. I mean, we said we were going to talk about him this week. He's your guy.
So if people are watching the stream, I have my name as Miles Sanders Stan, and I'm gonna host it through that. It's Miles Sanders Stan. However, I'm playing him still. I'm still playing him. But the most important thing, we mentioned this on our tips and tricks. Listen to the beat reporters. Listen to the practice reports. He got a limited practice in today. It's a little concerning for me. I want to see a full practice, but tomorrow, if it's not a full practice, I'm taking him out of my lineups. I don't care. I'm not gonna have him in. But they played it safe, in my opinion. Hamstring strain, they sat him out right away. They said, we're not going to risk it. They didn't sign anyone. I believe even if he were to split touches more so this week than he would in other weeks with Boston Scott, I'm okay with still playing him in cash because it's Washington football team's defense. It's not that great. And Miles Sanders is a very good pass catcher. He's going to get the pass catching points too that can make up for his lack of volume overall. In the game, they should win the game. They're 6-point favorites. I believe he could get a touchdown or two. Potentially, but the hamstring, please listen to the practice report. So right now he's in my cash game lineups, even one of my GPP lineups. But if he's not in full on Friday, I'm probably taking him out of my cash game lineups. I'll leave him in a GPP though, just because that chance that people will be off him and I'll get a contrarian play with Miles Sanders if he's going into it a little bit hurt.
Yeah, you have to watch the injury news. That's how one of the edges you create in DFS. And, these are big practices the middle of the week, and he's barely participated, so they need to get him through the whole full 16-game season. Week one versus the Redskins, I think they are going to manage his snaps. And if you're looking to win a GPP, you need volume.
Or you need a long touchdown.
Or a long touchdown. You need some breaks.
Better to bet on volume, like you said, though.
I need the volume, and I don't want to roster a guy that might pull something during the game. I think if your body's not right and you're not performing at an optimal level, there's other talent in that price range that's going to eat as well. You're safer with a Dalvin Cook even versus Green Bay. I don't like the matchup as much, but at 7,900, the guy's still a stud, and they're going to feed him. But Austin Eckler is my play, man. At 7,000, maybe I'm drinking a little bit of the Hard Knocks Kool-Aid, but he's just in another one of those situations where he's the guy. Josh Kelly's going to get his first burn of his NFL career, but I'm not concerned about him getting too many touches. Justin Jackson's been hurt all offseason, not even much of a name there. Eckler is leading that team. He is going to run. He is going to catch. They're going to feed him every way they can, and I think they're playing the Bungles. Cincinnati's another one of those worst defenses, Justin. They've had a lot of injuries in this offseason here that hasn't helped their cause, and I think Austin Eckler is going to expose them, and they're going to just center that offense around him. So I see a lot of points for Mr. Eckler.
It's definitely possible. My dad would love to hear that. A guy who I think could possibly put up Christian McCaffrey type numbers if everything were to go right. It's possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. 2% chance. I'm putting it on it. And that's Mr. James White. James White, 6K against the Dolphins, who don't have a good rushing defense. Sony Michel banged up. Damian Harris banged up. It's Rex Burkhead, James White. James White in the red zone with Cam Newton, freezing linebackers, tossed to him. He's going to walk in the end zone. He can have a 10-plus target game week one and also give you a touchdown or two. And maybe add some carries there, but 6,000 on DraftKings, super, super cheap. I have two GPP plays. One Dan is going to be like, okay, that's not bad. And one that Dan's going to be completely off of because he does not like this man at all. I mentioned it last week. So my first one, we'll get the hate out of the way. Kareem Hunt, 5,100. I'll tell you why, Dan. I'll quickly tell you why.
He's growing on me, Justin.
Yeah, 48 over under. That's the second highest of the week behind Atlanta Falcons game. Also, 8-point underdogs, which means Cleveland likely to be in passing situations, which is why you like Odell Beckham. And I like you kind of put me more on Odell Beckham than I already was. I got to give him at least one lineup. But Kareem Hunt, when he played in those 8 games, only had below 4 targets in 2 of those 8 games. And with them trailing here, a more competent coaching staff, a better offensive line, he's going to have a role in that Stefanski offense week 1. He's going to catch, I'm saying, at least 5 passes and could break one for a touchdown. They could split some carries with Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's still going to probably see 20-plus carries on the ground. But Kareem Hunt, a sneaky GBP play if he were to get a nice little screen pass behind that improved offensive line, get one in for a touchdown. But I think you can easily see 5-plus targets from this guy.
Yeah, I think our last show or sometime before that, I just, I'm anti Kareem Hunt in general there. He's not on any of my dynasty rosters, but at 5,100, and then he goes and gets a two-year, very expensive contract, I think $13.25 million extension. And the report comes out of Cleveland that this new coaching staff is really liking him. I mean, that's something we got to remember. This is a brand new coaching staff. He might be fitting that lineup like a Dalvin Cook there. And at 5,100, there's a great opportunity for points. So I think in some of my Baltimore Cleveland stacks, there is some love for your boy, Mr. Hunt there. I'm going to give him the opportunity.
Not my boy. Not my boy.
I'm going to give him a little bit of a DFS opportunity this week.
Yeah, give him a chance to show you.
But I got to ask you about one guy, because I've been really navigating through these lineups and trying to have a contrarian play. And what is your thoughts on Mr. Todd Gurley in Atlanta in his debut in the state of Georgia, where he played college football at 6,100, where he's healthy right now at this moment? Guys behind him, Brian Hill, okay, and I just got this little bit of a sneaky feeling on this 49-point over-under game where Seattle and Atlanta could shoot out. Could Gurley be a sneaky play that everyone's just kind of forgetting about?
Yes, he could. He's my cash game lineup guy. I'm going to have in a lot of my cash game lineups. You mentioned the high over-under. He's probably going to get, hey, all that needs to happen with Julio Jones' touchdown luck, just getting down at the 1-yard line, have Todd Gurley come in and just pound one in with his knee, and then probably, it's risky. It is a risky play because it's Todd Gurley, and I'm not a big Todd Gurley guy, but week 1, like you said, most likely going to be healthier at the start of the season than he's going to be midway through the season. So if I'm going to play Todd Gurley, it's going to be in the first couple of weeks. So Todd Gurley, not a bad little contrarian play like you mentioned as well. 6,100. James White right below him 6,000, and you got Miles Sanders above him at 6,300. And I have my GPP play of the week at $4,000 less than Todd Gurley. So you scroll down the DraftKings thing, you see a guy who's 5,700. The only guy that's 5,700 on the entire running back slate for DraftKings, and that's Mr. Jonathan Taylor. You're shaking your head. And this is why it's a great GPP play. It's the contrarian play. Marlon Mack named the starter. But guess what? You're not going to get Jonathan Taylor nothing. You're going to probably do a close to a 50-50 split week 1. They're 8-point favorites against Jacksonville, who has an awful, awful defense. I'm putting my money at Jonathan Taylor. Gets at least 10 carries. At least 10 carries. And he breaks one for a touchdown. He's going to get 100-plus yards and a touchdown week 1. GPP play only, not cash game.
Yeah, I'm conflicted here, and I took him in the 3rd round of a redraft this weekend.
Hey, I did too.
I just, I went running back hardcore, 3 running backs needed in that league. But then one of the reports recently, and I'm not buying into every report I read, but one of the beat writers said they drafted him to complement Marlon Mack, to spell him. And
yeah,
as
so
you
it's
mentioned,
it's like, okay, run for a touchdown. Be like, good job showing me how to do that, Marlon Mack, when he's on the bench watching him run for a 60-yard touchdown. No, it's week 1's going to be where it's closer, but all I'm at 1 touchdown behind that offensive line against that bad defense. He gets a carry. He's a threat to take it to the house every single time.
I'm gonna give you a point here. I'm gonna give you a point because I'm thinking, if they do blow out the Jags, that's when you experiment with the rookie, and you don't care if he fumbles, you don't care if he makes a mistake. This is when you learn in the National Football League versus, because Coach Reich knows what he's doing. If they were playing the 49ers, you might have a little more, you're going to go with what you know and go with a Marlon Mack. But versus the Jags, this might be his chance to really shine. The guy is a beast, and it's a great offensive line. So I can see
exactly.
that.
That's the logic behind it. And I'm also expecting the Jaguars to be down by a lot of points early on. I think the Colts are going to come out hot, and Jonathan Taylor going to get some run with that offense. They're probably going to rotate drives. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jonathan Taylor get 100-plus yards and a touchdown. That's my bold prediction of the week. Now going on to the tight end possession. George Kittle. It's tough. This week, all the guys that I want to play are always highly priced, so why not just pay up for George Kittle? It's 7,200. It's a lot, but it's kind of worth it using some of our discount plays we mentioned above. This guy is the only guy there. I'm stacking him with Jimmy G. No Brandon Ayuk. No Deebo Samuel week 1. So it's Trent Taylor it's Kendrick Bourne, and it's George Kittle. So George Kittle, I'm paying up this week for a tight end makes sense. Usually I'm looking for discount plays, but this week there's not a lot of discount plays.
Love the Kittle take, no doubt about it. And that Garoppolo Kittle stack's very nice. Kittle should eat versus Arizona. I think he's going to do better in the touchdown category this year. But I'm going to take Mark Andrews before him. I'm going back to my Baltimore stack there, and I just think if he gets more reps, he's going to have a better season than Kittle and Kelsey this season. So I'm loving me some Mark Andrews a little bit more than your boy Kittle. But I think either one of those two is a great way to go. And you look at that high percentage owned, that's the other reason I like Andrews. He is not highly owned, where your boy Kittle is right behind Chris Herndon, all the Chris Herndon sleepers out there. He's about 15% owned. Kittle 14, Hayden Hurst 13. I do like Hayden a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Hayden, yeah.
And then Zach Ertz at 11. So they're the big four that are really being owned by a lot of teams. But Mark Andrews for me, buddy.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is a good shot too. I love Mark Andrews this year, and like you said, if he were to get more snaps this year, which hopefully he does, then he definitely can push Kelsey or Kittle for that tight end 1 overall spot this season. Hunter Henry is another guy I want to mention. 5,300 on DraftKings. There's no Mike Williams. He's cheaper than the other tight ends, and are also 3-point favorites, which I like taking tight ends who are favorites because they like it means they're going to score, and you want a tight end to score to do well in DraftKings or any of these, or in fantasy in general. You want your tight end to get a touchdown. That's what's really big for tight ends. Rumor is they're going to go a lot of 12 personnel this week, which means 2 tight ends, Keenan Allen on the outside, Tyrod Taylor, usually well thrown to the middle of the field. I know it's where he succeeds a lot. So why not Hunter Henry this week? 5,300 to go a little bit more contrarian.
It's another one where as I think about him, and that's why I like you, Justin. Like I said, normally I get this advice from you like the night before the game, but now I'm getting it earlier this year doing this podcast with you. As I've been watching the Chargers, maybe by default a little more because I have been following the Hard Knocks series, and I watched when Mike Williams got injured in that episode of Hard Knocks, and he is a game-time decision, Mike Williams. And I think they're only pushing him because they have nobody behind him and with the Chargers. That is a very thin wide receiver corpse, and it's going to be the Keenan Allen show. And they're going to double cover Keenan Allen, and we're going to see if Mike Williams could even play. He's got an injury that you're worrying about it reoccurring. I think they have to feed Hunter Henry. That's the other reason I like Austin Eckler. I think it's going to be, their success is going to rely on Hunter Henry and Austin Eckler stepping up and making plays. And Hunter Henry's got a ton of potential. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy, but he could be one of those breakout guys we're talking about as the season progresses. It'll be interesting to watch. I like Hayden Hurst. I think tight ends have a high success rate versus Seattle historically. We'll see what happens now. Their defense got a little boost there with Jamal Adams, right? So we'll see what happens. But I like Hayden Hurst, but he's more higher owned. I think you have more of a sneaky play there with Hunter Henry. And we mentioned that Thursday to Monday slate. If you're playing those later slates or you listen to the show and you're playing single slate on the weekend there when it comes Monday night, I love my boy Jonnu Smith. I got to give Jonnu some love. Don't forget about Jonnu. And then when we talk about my Dallas Cowboys, because you can't forget about them either, Justin, even though they're on Monday night.
I was happy that they were on the slate this week, Dan. I was like, oh, the listeners are going to get a nice little breath of fresh air. And whenever they're not on Sunday Night Football, that's what we're having in the Cowboys stack. We
got to take care of the listeners because they're going to listen back to this pod for Sunday, but then they're also going to be playing that Monday night slate. And if Patrick Ramsey is covering Amari Cooper, even though he's my boy back there, and I want to say he's going to take another step this year, that's a tough matchup against Patrick Ramsey for anybody. So look for Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb to go ham. Especially love Michael Gallup this weekend in that game.
Yeah, Michael Gallup.
And my boy Dak, of course.
I will quickly ask him about Jonathan Taylor. We got breaking news that Colts Quentin Nelson missed practice day due to a back injury, and also left tackle is missed practice as well. Limited participant with also Ryan Kelly. So keep an eye about that offensive line come Sunday if they're fully healthy, because that could also hurt the Jonathan Taylor GPP dream. And I have one sneaky play at tight end, Dan. Super sneaky. 3,400. Ian Thomas. Money saving option. GPP. Triple stack it up. Teddy Bridgewater. DJ Moore. Ian Thomas. That's the triple stack right there. He's got a high game total, which I like to look for. They're not favorites, but there's a chance that Carolina can get out in front. And he had a week last year. Week 14. Fantasy playoffs. First week where he had 10 targets and was top 10 tight end. Teddy Bridgewater, way more accurate than Kyle Allen. It's possible that he has a good game. triple stack it up, hope for a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, Ian Thomas, 3,400 allows you to pay up elsewhere as well. So
I like that one. Ian's definitely a sneaky play. If that game shoots out, he should get a lot of targets. He had a little foot injury going into the week, but he's been practicing in full, so I think he's going to be fine. Definitely like that. He's in that same range too with TJ Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson's another guy that has been wowing Detroit at practice and might be ready to take that next jump. He's at 4,200.
Hawk
strap. And I think the Detroit passing game could be in for a nice little day there. So we'll see where the targets go, but I think you got to include Hawkinson in that list.
Yeah, I agree too. Also with the news about Kenny Galladay and his hamstring, they're playing it safe with him today as well. So TJ Hawkinson week 1, I do like that pick right there. Now, I'm not taking Chicago's defense this week because I think Detroit's an underrated offense. I am taking the Patriots defense at 3,200, 6.5 point favorites all offseason to prepare for this. Bill Belichick, don't doubt the man. And it's Fitzmagic. Fitzmagic can either have 6 touchdowns in the game or 10 picks. You never know which Fitzmagic you're going to get week 1. So week 1, I know they have a lot of players opt out, but I think Bill Belichick has a game plan for this game, and they're 6.5 point favorites. So I do like Patriots defense at 3,200.
I was a little surprised that they're the high. I mean, they are the highest owned team at 13.5. And then after that, it's like Jets, Ravens, Chargers. So I like the Colts. They're kind of my favorite. I just think Jacksonville is a hot mess. They have running backs that everybody's kind of grabbing in the free agent wire, but no one knows any of them. D.D. Westbrook's the 4th receiver now. We'll see how, Laviska's really being put into a large role for a rookie as their number 2 receiver. Conley's there. I know Mitch likes Conley. So if our boy Mitch is right, Conley could be a sleeper, but I think the Colts are just going to feast and Minshew's going to make some mistakes. I've also been keeping an eye on the Chargers. That little derail there when Darwin James got injured. That takes away a little bit from it. Baltimore, even though it's a high-scoring game, I think they could be sneaky with some turnovers if Baker makes some mistakes. And Detroit, I just think the Bears are a hot mess there. I like the Lions as well.
Yeah, the Colts are my second favorite one. 8-point favorites, which is huge, biggest favorite on the slate. So I like Indianapolis as well. Usually I'll have some more contrarian sleeper defenses this week, but this week I think it's simple, and you're going to get the guy at 3,000 with Indianapolis, or if you want to pay up, get the Patriots, even Bills, but I'm not really willing to pay up that much for a defense unless they're known and they've done it weeks prior to score a lot of points.
Buddy, that's a full slate we cover there. I think a lot of hot tips for our listeners. Hopefully they have some luck on tonight's Thursday night game. What do you think? What's your stack of the week? We close on a good stack of the week?
A lot of good stacks this week. I mentioned my favorite one, but I'll say the stack of the week. I mentioned that it's got to be a Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, stack it up. It's sleeper. It's a little, people are like, oh, that's a high floor one. But no, it's also a high ceiling one. You just wait on it this week. High over under. I do like Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore stack. It's my boy, DJ Moore. Love him, and I got to ride with him.
Hey, nothing new here on my end. I do like your stack, Justin, but I'm staying loyal to the Lamar, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews triple stack, running it back with OBJ. I'm going to review this lineup a little bit closer to see if I can get your boy Kareem Hunt in there. I know I'm busting you with your boy, but I do like the take. It's gaining some momentum. So that's my stack of the week, and my handle on DraftKings there is Coach 2780. I know we talked about running a contest. We will try to work on that if we can get something out to the listeners. But if not, if someone wants to challenge me on DraftKings, Coach 2780, tag the show in the Money podcast on Twitter there. Let me know you're challenging me, and I'll accept your challenge.
Yeah, same with me. Mine's Justin FF. Simple as that. So you can challenge me there. Tweet it at Twitter at Justin_FFB. Let me know what's up. And you went with a triple stack, Dan. That's a little cheating. So I'll go with a quadruple stack. I'm all for the quadruple stack. Yeah, big at quadruple stack. We got the quadruple stack of the week over here. We got Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey. We also got the DJ Moore. Run it back with Josh Jacobs. Do some nice little contrarian plays elsewhere. That's the triple quadruple stack of the week. We got all the stacks over here, Dan. That's gonna do it for us today. Subscribe if you're new. Tweet at us, Dan's Twitter once again at FFCoachDan. Mine's at Justin_FFB. In the Money podcast at In the Money DFS _ We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. We're basically anywhere you can be found now, and also on YouTube Thursday nights at 7:00 Eastern. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. I'll have that just play out at the end, but our voice, we can talk right now.
Yeah.
But whenever we get the man bun to do our intro, this is it. Thanks for listening.
Keep working on, man. Get us that intro.
He's been busy. He's had a kid.
Did it really?
Oh,
Wow. Congrats there.